Mhm. Mm. 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 Today we are doing mentorship training, discussing spiritual pedagogy, and the topic is mathematics is a spiritual path, what that means, how that could be so, and exploring how this applies to ourselves as students and how this applies to our students as mentors. So, what is spirituality? What are we seeking to do in spirituality? I think this must be defined properly in order for us to answer the question and explore mathematics as a spiritual path. what is spirituality, what is the spiritual path, and what is this particular spiritual path of mathematics. So spirituality means pertaining to that spiritual side of existence, spirit, the essence, that part of us that is etheric, unchanging, supremely present. In a way, it's turning our attention to the essential side of our being, ultimately to the quintessential side of the universe, and abiding in that. But how do we do this? How do we go into eternity when we potentially can't even stop our own thoughts? How do we direct our attention so completely into something that we forget we exist and don't carry around the baggage of the self-reflection? So spiritual path being a lifestyle, a journey where the destination, the path is the destination, but we undergo a transformation and potentially make progress into a deeper and more realized state. But this realization is only the realization of our own nature. So we're not gaining anything. We're actually not teaching ourselves as much as we're unteaching ourselves. We're seeking to see the sun, and presently it's eclipsed to some degree. We're not building a sun. We're only revealing it and changing its condition to one from being eclipsed to being visible and knowable. So there are three really important aspects of the spiritual path and how we become more conscious and transcend into the state of freedom. Another way to look at it is freedom. We're free from the conceptions of self-reflection, the attachments. We're supremely concentrated in the present and free and acting spontaneously as an expression of that yoking with eternity. So the three components are meditation, which is a formal practice where we sit down and focus on eternity. We focus on the now. We focus on being until we become it. Meditation is a formal practice. People sometimes say, oh, swimming is my meditation. Well, no, that doesn't make sense. Meditation is a formal practice directing our attention to the foundation and essence of activity. So that's the first part. The next part is mindfulness. Doing what we do, giving it our full attention, being completely immersed in what we're doing and doing it with complete concentration and attention. This is an essential part of spiritual practice. It helps us to, between meditations, stay in a state where we are free of thought and completely spontaneous and immersed in the activity that we're in. So mindfulness is a part of it. And another one is contemplation or lucidity. We have to have an understanding of life and of ourselves. Clarity and understanding brings freedom. and it causes thought to stop. Thought being imagination and attachment and all the ways that a confused mind thinks perpetually. A clear mind doesn't think perpetually. It thinks when it needs to think, which is really a different order of thinking altogether. Perhaps I wouldn't even call that thinking. It's using the brain while completely present. So these three things, very important. I have to give credit to my teacher for teaching me this. He studied many paths and distilled all the many spiritual paths and found that these three elements were present in all paths: meditation, mindfulness, and lucidity, which comes from contemplation. So we have to practice meditation. We have to practice mindfulness. We have to practice contemplation. So when we do mathematics as a mindfulness exercise, we can do, you guys can open your eyes, by the way. We can do any practice mindfully. So meditating, sitting down, feeling your heart, doing energy work, everything that we've discussed in the other classes, as well as ideally, if you can do it, going into the light, going into Shakti. This is a purification process of the subtle aspects of the being. So you can move into an enlightened state of awareness, or temporarily into a more enlightened state of awareness, or temporarily into just an enlightened state of awareness. Ultimately, enlightenment means that you've moved into it permanently, which is a very advanced state. We don't have to achieve that. We just want to move the dial up closer to that as much as we can in each lifetime. Although perhaps you can achieve it, and it's great to try and believe that it's possible. This may be the lifetime that you become enlightened, and maybe you're 1 in a billion. It's possible if you really love it. How many people really give their all to something like that? There are very few enlightened beings on the planet. I've heard the numbers 12. 12. There's that few. There are 2,000 billionaires, just to give you some context. There's 12 enlightened beings. Jiva, there's a few names for it. Jiva Mukti, someone who's experiencing moksha, someone in the state of Sahaja Samadhi, someone who's liberated, someone who's in Christ consciousness, someone who is completely merged with the Tao. There are many names by which you can talk about this. The people I'm talking about are famous or not. They're like the prophets. They're like the famous prophets. They're in a state of immense love, compassion, freedom. They see beyond the cycle of life. They see truth directly. I mean, it's a really beautiful state. I mean, it's the most beautiful. And when you're around them, you feel their power. And you'll feel their power of their students too. Like, because anybody who's moved along the path to enlightenment, there's a power within them. If you have an inner sight, you can see them glowing. You can feel the palpable magnetism around them. Their outlook on life is divine and sacred, and you can feel the compassion and beauty in it. There's a sense that they're not trying to achieve anything, that they've already arrived. It's very beautiful. There's very few people like that. So this is what I mean by spiritual path. I mean the path to enlightenment. It's a transformation of oneself. And if you get a taste of it, and I hope that you guys are getting a taste of it in these sessions, it should feel very potent and inspiring. When I first meditated with my teacher 13 years ago, I resolved to change my life. Everything was different after that. It's like you have these, sometimes people have these experiences and they're like, wow, this changes the meaning of life for me. So for me, it's all about love. I know this is a math program, but it's really all about love, which means to come to the end of the journey in the now and abide in one's completeness and be in touch with the sense that is feeling that we are so complete and whole, and our very substance is love, which means there's this wonderful contentment that you are immutable, unassailable perfection, and it feels that way. If you meditate on the heart, it's a good way to begin to feel that. When you meditate on the heart, you feel like, oh, I don't care anymore. I don't care about nothing. And that's the attitude, right? You really feel, oh man, everything's cool. We are so blessed to be what we are in our essence and in our expressions and our substance as we are today. There's a gratitude that comes with it. So it's the most important thing. And if we can teach kids that, if we can prioritize that in our lives and teach that to kids while they're learning mathematics, that is one of the most pivotal ways to make the world a better place. And there have been wonderful people who've come before that have paved the way for this to be more possible. People like Paramahansa Yogananda, people who have made these esoteric teachings a little bit more normalized. Even the yoga movement in the United States, everybody's going to yoga, doing all these postures. Even that has normalized spirituality compared to how it was 100 years ago, where, you read the Bible, that was about, follow the Bible, right? Like now it's a little bit more open-minded. And people look at the Bible a little differently. They say, oh, it's like yoga. It's a different thing. Of course, some people don't. But the point is that spirituality is, we can access it more. The fact that I can walk around wearing all white, have a long beard, and be all eccentric spiritually, and people actually send good energy to me when I do that and say, wow, that guy's cool, give me a thumbs up, like I did to that today on the street. The fact that I can do that, kneel on the sidewalk and put my hands like this and just feel love for like 30 seconds, just be eccentric, that means that society's supporting that. And that's actually great, because if I had maybe tried to do that, I mean, LA is also nice for that too, but when I do that in other cities, some people start gathering around me and asking what I do. So it's actually, it can be a nice response in other cities too. But 40 years ago, that might have been looked at differently, right? So you can embrace spirituality more these days, which is why I think this program can really thrive and succeed. I think people will enjoy it. So spirituality, this is what I mean by enlightenment. And spirituality means you're doing this, you're moving in that direction. Now you can do it to any degree you feel comfortable. But it should be a deep transformation. So meditation means you sit down and you formally go into what you are. Mindfulness means you do something with your complete attention, and you get better at doing something with complete mindfulness, meaning you're not thinking about other things. Your mind is fully present with your activities. You shouldn't be doing two things. This is where Zen becomes I like Zen a lot too. Zen means you do one thing at a time. When you have tea ceremony in Japan, you do the tea ceremony, you give it your full attention, and you do it with intentionality. You do one thing at a time, intentionally. You give it your heart, you give it your mind, you give it everything you have, and nothing else exists but that thing in that moment. So we practice mindfulness, and mathematics can be a way to practice mindfulness. So we meditate, and then we do mindfulness practice, our formal meditation, and then our formal mindfulness practice, which is to sit down and do mathematics. And do it with mindfulness, practice mindfulness. And then when we're not doing it formally, then we benefit from all the inertia we've developed in our formal practice. So you're like, okay, well, now I'm eating, and I'm eating with mindfulness because you practiced it with your math. Your whole life should be mindfulness. When you're not meditating, mindfulness is a good thing to do. If you're driving down the street, focus on driving. Feel the power of being present. There's a power that comes through us, a surge of power when you're driving, and it's just your energy field is out and you feel the road coming through you, and you're just focused on your third eye and your heart, and you're not in the habit of dividing your attention. And most people are dividing their attention. It's extraordinarily unhealthy to be walking around on your phone like that. It's very bad for the psyche and for the psychic faculties and for the spiritual faculties, spiritual development, not faculties. So people are a little confused about this. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to approach life in a way that makes them deeply happy, powerful, loving, intelligent. So these are the things that the real teachings teach us. And one of them is to give your full attention to what you're doing and do it one thing at a time and be intentional about it. If you're going to do it with gentleness, do it with gentleness. If you're going to do it with, know what you're doing. And cultivate the feeling of how you do things. I mean, can you just listen to somebody? I mean, how well can you listen to somebody? Not just to the words, but the feelings within them that give rise to those words without thinking about yourself. And if you look at these things, there's so much work we can do as individuals. And then there's contemplation. So contemplation, one more thing about mindfulness. Do one thing at a time, give it your full attention, be intentional about that. Don't take shortcuts. And don't prioritize the results of your actions. So when you're brushing your teeth, don't do it to get your teeth clean. Do it to brush. Your teeth will become clean, right? When you're brushing, enjoy, oh, I'm brushing, right? When you're walking, enjoy, oh, I'm walking. And then you're also at your destination, right? So the whole idea that we are attached to the results of our action causes compromise, causes corruption. We're selling moments for results. And that's not spiritual. Because we want the moment to be, the essence is there. So in a way, we're already home, and we're already in the essence, and we're watching life happen perfectly. The river of time flows through the banks of our existence, right? The river of time flows through the banks of our existence, and we watch life flower before us in the sunshine of eternity. These are metaphors. I'm trying to describe what it's like. When we do things for the results of the actions, we aren't doing that. Live with integrity. Do the things you do, but abide in the presence and the beauty of the moment. Enjoying the action of brushing your teeth. And no action is too small. And when you have to do things that are not as particularly fun, sweeping the floor, having, whatever it might be, doing work, you can do it with that sentiment as well. So every option is a moment to go further, to transcend. In fact, pain can help you go further, because in the acceptance of pain, you are denying the center of self. So it's a little bit more challenging. If you're like, oh, well, it's so desirable, and you accept the desire, fulfillment of a desire, that's actually a challenge too. But it's not as much of a challenge because your self, it can be strengthened by that, or at least not resisted by that. So we seek to find the ineffable, unassailable, eternal aspect of what we are in each moment. And this is part of the practice of mindfulness. It's a very diverse topic. We could have this 12-week course on mindfulness easily. What I recommend is you study it. Study mindfulness. Study karma yoga. Karma yoga is a yoga of action. It talks about a lot of the aspects of mindfulness. Karma phala, the fruits of your actions. Karma bandha, attachment to the results of your actions. Vaikarma, bad action. Akarma, non-action. These are all Sanskrit words that relate to mindfulness. You can study Zen Buddhism. You can get on ChatGPT and say, hey, tell me about mindfulness through the lens of Zen Buddhism. They'll tell you a whole bunch of things. Tell me how I can practice it. Tell me who I should, any books I should read about it, right? They'll say, read Zen, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, read Alan Watts, there's so much you can do. Like, there's not enough hours in the day to do all these things, right? Well, of course, there's exactly the right amount of hours, right? Because we're not attaching to the results of our actions either. We get to enjoy the journey of being the beginner student, the intermediate student, the advanced student, and the beginner student again, right? We get to enjoy that journey. So mathematics can be a formal mindfulness practice. Woo! Now, when we practice something as a mindfulness practice, we're interested in achieving mastery. We want to take it as far as we can, and we want to practice what in Zen they call Kaizen, which means continual improvement. We want to keep pushing the edge of our abilities. This keeps us engaged. You don't want to play the guitar, same old songs for 20 years around the campfire. You want to take it to the next level every single time you play and become like Jimi Hendrix, right? You want to take it to the next level. With mathematics, we just get this lifelong challenge to take it to the next level, further and further and further. And there's pretty much no limit to mathematics, right? There's so much to do. You can do the things that are particularly interesting to you. You might be like, I'm interested in fourth dimensional polytopes. I could be interested in differential geometry. I could be interested in statistics as it applies to machine learning. There's so many things, like whatever's your thing, So practicing mathematics is a mindfulness practice. Mastering it. Think of yourself as Bruce Lee mastering martial arts. Want to take it as far as you can. Become phenomenally good for yourself. Enjoy the journey of challenging yourself. Now, mathematics happens to be a very good mindfulness practice for spiritual improvement. You can really do anything, but everything has a different benefit. If you're martial arts, you're going to have a very strong body. You're going to be able to protect your loved ones and yourself. You're going to have all these benefits, right? In addition to the spiritual development. In mathematics, we gain clarity. We gain an impeccable intellect. Our abstract thought is refined. We get to commune with the eternal structures from which all of physicality is reflected. So there's an eternal quality to it. Mathematics is in the stars. It exists beyond humanity. Its structures are eternal, and therefore what you focus on, you become eternal when you focus on math. It stands at the border of nirvana as the beginning of the dualistic realm, as a realm of Platonic archetypes from which physicality must abide the rules of dimensionality and possibility. I'm liking this talk. This is a nice, I got a lot to share about this. This is very central to what I love, what I do, and what my career is and everything, my spiritual practice. So mathematics, what is the contemplation practice then? So we got the meditation, the mindfulness, and the contemplation. which leads to lucidity. And there's a little bit of an mathematics also leads to lucidity. You can contemplate life and benefit from the mathematical structures you've cultivated. You can think of life as a function with arguments and a dependent value that results. You can think of it geometrically. You can think of it with more structure and order, and therefore more comprehension when you have mathematics there as a part of the way you've structured your mind. We need to develop well-structured minds. How do you develop a well-structured mind? You have to understand these things. The way that perhaps I'm giving off a sense of comprehension as I speak, this is what I'm talking about. Have a comprehension of the truth. Know what is. Truth. Which includes something being logically correct. It also, or sound, but it also includes understanding the meaning of life. We have to contemplate these things and understand these things, understand the ways of society, ways of yourself, understand the interactions you've had with people, what actually happened. Is that person manipulating you, using you? Are you using them? What was your intention? Why did you say that? Did you tell the truth? Be honest with yourself, searing self-honesty. Get over yourself. We're a work in progress, all of us. We're perfect in our imperfection. And we are a work a work in progress. So we have to become honest about who we are. So all of this is involved in lucidity practice. So you can sit down and write, but perhaps if you're really into math, think of it with mathematical structures. Are there parallels? Are there perpendicular structures or orthogonal structures? You don't have to be completely stuck in thinking about it mathematically, but where you can, perhaps that can elucidate and bring more clarity. Perhaps it's very natural to do that. You know, if you're an engineer, you might think of it like a machine. Life is a big machine. As a mathematician, life is a big equation, a big abstraction, right? If you're a baseball player, life could be a game. You know, you got 3 strikes, you're out. You got bases, you got a team, right? So in mathematics, we take this, we metaphorically align our paradigm with the sentiment of abstract perfection. Life is a series of mathematical rules and perfect, right? So we can practice meditation, mindfulness, and contemplation with an emphasis on mathematics. And when you meditate, you dissolve into the essence and you come back and you make sense of the world through mathematics. It's good to journal. It's good to write about things, to gain clarity on them. Mostly gain clarity on yourself and your relationships, and see the truth in the world. Why do people do what they do? What does life mean? What is kindness? What is right and what is wrong? You know, answer these questions. What would fulfill you? What are you supposed to be doing here in your time on planet Earth? What are your priorities? What are your values? In other words, what is valuable to you? What principles do you hold paramount? In other words, what principles are a part of your integrity. Know yourself. Learn to see others. Know the people who are closest to you. What do you want for a wife or a husband? Do you want a wife or husband? Or is that something you don't want? Do you want to have a job, or is that something you don't want? Do you want to have money or not? Where are these pressures coming from? There's so many things you can contemplate. And most people are just bogged down and they live in a state of perpetual confusion. Very few people are not confused. And you may rise out of confusion into lucidity and go back into confusion to a degree, or you may have a certain proportion of confusion and lucidity. Now, notice how I said proportion. I'm bringing my entire reservoir of fractions and percentages into that comprehension. For me, it means a lot to say a proportion of confusion and lucidity. And it seems to be Boolean. I bring a lot of coding terminology in too. To me, mathematics and code go together, the way I use code. Boolean means you're either confused or lucid, and there's some proportion involved. Is that really the nature of it? Perhaps it is. Or perhaps it's more like a two-dimensional surface in a three-dimensional space. What is it? What is it for you? My teacher says subjective lucidity. Achieve subjective lucidity. Subjective meaning you being the subject, versus some sort of objective lucidity means how do you make sense of life? Not that there isn't some singular truth, objective truth, which there is. What is. That's true. Are you sitting? Yes or no? What was your intention? This or something else? Those are truths, right? Perhaps some truths are stated as if this, then that. If you want people to like you, then do this. If you want to be righteous, then this is considered right and this is considered wrong. If you value love as paramount, then this is right and this is wrong, right? So if-then statements sometimes come into play when we're talking about the truth. If it's day, then the sun is above the horizon. If it's night, the sun is below the horizon. These are descriptions and words that point to reality. They describe reality. So understanding semantics. It's almost like you guys are getting 3 years of homework right now, right? So just make the list and do whatever you like with it. But looking into semantics, which is what words mean to different people, semantic interpretation. You say love, somebody says, oh, I love vegan food. Well, is that really love? I mean, you really like vegan food. That's what that means, right? What does love has so many definitions? What is love? Maybe use love differently. So study these things, and then as a mentor, you can pass them on to children 8, 9, 10 years old, up to 18 years old. You can share these sentiments and be a very powerful mentor as an embodiment of these things. Live these things. Don't be offended by things. Know the truth. If somebody says something, maybe they're right. Maybe you're not so nice in this way. Look at that. Is that true? Maybe I wasn't nice. Maybe I was. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you learn and you become free and conscious of what you are. Love yourself, meaning love your imperfection and love your opportunity to grow into greater happiness. If you're not so nice, you're probably the one that's suffering most. So thank the person for pointing it out. Maybe they pointed it out to be mean. Doesn't matter. Thank the universe that they brought that person to point it out, right? So, no, wonderful. Thank you for listening. I probably could not have said it quite like that if I didn't have the two of you here. I don't know where Corinne is. Maybe he's listening too. Two of you here, really receiving that and valuing it with me. It's nice to have people who value what you value, helps you strengthen it, which is why community matters. If we have two of us or three of us, nice. Thanks, Corinne. Corinne is listening. If we have two or three of us, four of us that are into this, it really helps. If you have one friend who's into it, you could just be you and your teacher, or you and your best friend, or you and your wife or husband or whatever. Your husband, if we have no females here. Oh, got it. Thanks for letting us know, Corinne. Good to know. Corinne has an internet issue due to flood. So just on audio. So or if anybody wants a husband, and you can have a husband if you're male too, I guess, if you want. A journeyless destination does not rival a journeyful destination. Not rival. I'm not sure what the word rival means there. So we want to embody these things and share these things. And if you live it, here's the vision I have. A merry band of mathematical mystics who teach kids and make money doing that and are well known for, hey, those guys are great. They're such great mentors. My kid is so wise, learning so much. And also we awaken mathematical intelligence by using the principles of enlightenment in teaching mathematics. And since everybody has to learn mathematics, what if mathematics is taught infused with the principles of enlightenment? What if we put vitamins and minerals in our food, right? And everybody has to eat and getting all those vitamins and minerals. Learning mathematics with all these sentiments. Don't do mathematics with attachment to results. Accept yourself, be honest about your abilities and what you know and what you don't know. Do it for the joy of it. All of these things, do it mindfully, give your full attention. Don't eat food while you do mathematics. Don't talk to somebody, don't check your messages, turn your phone off while you're doing mathematics. All these things help you to cultivate these spiritual principles. So, how much time do we have? Nice. So any questions?
My little comment kind of just means a destination with no journey taken. So say that, you're going to see a waterfall and you have to take a few mile hike. It's a journey that kind of adds value to that beautiful scenery, that destination.
Yeah.
As a part, if you're just like on a helicopter, drop down. Ooh, very nice, beautiful. All right, time to go.
Right.
That's what I meant.
Exactly. Beautiful. Got it.
The same way as in cultivating a mathematical result as a part to uh, building up the foundation to it instead of just seeing the result. So
Mm-hmm.
being able to kind of view it from a first principle standpoint instead of just being given the result.
Right. Yeah, the process of elucidating a mathematical concept. I'm currently in that process right now with something, and it's been 3 days I've been thinking about this thing and trying to make it work. And I was like, wow, I'm not as clear. Well, what a wonderful opportunity. I'll know that I'm clear when I get this. And today, actually, pretty much got it today, thank goodness. So I keep giving myself challenges. It's a new challenge for me too. It's something I've never done. So yeah, the journey is a part of it. But we also remember enlightenment, we're not gaining anything new. We simply don't know what those enlightened people know. We're not in communion with that knowledge. They know that there's no difference between them and us. Oh, we don't know that, right? Like that's the difference, right? Maybe we know that sometimes, but somebody may be talking to you and Ramana Maharshi might be sitting in front of you and say, I don't exist, you don't exist, we are one. You are Bhagavan, I am Bhagavan. There's nothing. There's no such thing. This is all unreality. Okay, they know that, but what the real thing is, they're not saying that there's anything to gain. I want to see this comment. Yeah, let's talk about the mentorship program. Considering the mentorship, what will be the right approach to mentor someone to the spiritual process who is so high into the peaks of emotion? I'm assuming you mean overwhelmed and ensnared in their emotions. Is that what you mean? Because
Yes,
emotion can be a good
I
thing.
have to say
Can't hear you so well.
what I want to refer here is uh, whenever someone is so indulged in some kinds of emotions like attachment or some types of frustration or anger, he is not able to listen. He is not able to uh, see the things as they are. There
Mhm,
is a certain level of bondage.
mhm.
The freedom is overcome by the certain level of bondage and how to deal that type of situation.
So loving somebody, really loving them, you know, love is very powerful. And when it is genuine, it has a potency to help people feel like if somebody could just be blessed with the feeling of love when they're feeling anger, when they're feeling some sort of adverse emotional condition, to feel love disarms them. And of course, they're on their journey. So it's important that we don't say we want to change them, because we can only free them to the degree that they're ready and the degree that they're interested in being freed. Perhaps they're, if they're resisting you, I wouldn't say, so I mean, this is the question, how can we help unlock them from their state? I think love is the one of the most potent things you can do. Love them, listen to them, don't try to change them. Hold space for them to be what they are, to feel what they're feeling. Be an example. I think that's another one. When you're loving in a way, you already are being an example. Be an example of detachment. Let them see somebody acting in a completely different way to them and making it work. I'm detached. Teach by example, by being an embodiment of it. And love them by giving them your goodwill, concerning yourself with them as they are without judgment, accepting them as they are without trying to change them. These things can really help somebody. But it can take a long time for somebody to change. Well, why does some people show up for a class like this, or some class, maybe not this class, but another class? Maybe there's a lot that has happened within you. It can take a long time for people to change, um, to be open to it. Um, so it's good to always be ready to show people the door, but they have to walk through the door. You can be a door walking around showing everybody. A whole city may ignore you, except for one person. But everybody in that city will subconsciously feel your presence, the emptiness, the fullness of your love, the emptiness of your self-serving tendencies. They'll feel your goodwill. Your face expression will bring a degree of solace to their day, if not for a moment. The best thing we can do for humanity is to become enlightened. Nobody can do it but us. Each individual. Social reform, how is it achieved? Is it achieved through a new structure of society? New rules, new laws? I would say no. Social reform is achieved when each of us becomes love, when each of us becomes truth, when we change inwardly and aren't attempted to be controlled by some sort of imposition of law in society. Those things don't last because people don't have a fundamental change within. Communism could have been very powerful if everybody really wanted to work together. Capitalism could be very powerful if everybody really wanted to work together and keep tabs on how much value is being exchanged. What really matters, if we all have love in our hearts, we'll have a different world. And each of us has to make that change and continue to make that change. What is it to prioritize love? I mean, how many people really really want love? More than their wants, more than the things they're attached to. They want love. Love is a kind of surrender. It says, okay, you can have that thing that I wanted. I am love. I'm free. Freedom and love go together. So social reform happens when we each make the choice to be whole with our essence as love, to be integrity, to be in service, to give up our pride, give up our ego, give up our attachments and acceptance, replace it with acceptance, faith, trust. This is a monumental shift, and you have to yoke your awareness with the sacred dimension within in order for yourself to really do that, not as an imposition upon yourself either. Find within the gospel means good message etymologically. It literally means that there's a good news. You are absolute ecstasy and bliss. That's your nature. That's what it is to choose love. Well, that's your nature. It doesn't mean you need anything anymore. Of course, you should take care of your body, take care of your possessions, take care of yourself, but also do it as a part of taking care of society. Your neighbor is a part of you. Your society is a part of you. So if we lived that way, we wouldn't need social reform. So we don't need to try to change others as much. This is still a response to Quran. Change others as much as we need to change ourselves. If we lived in a society, imagine everybody in the world around you was Ramana Maharshi or Sri Yukteswar or I don't know, any of these beautiful people. You'd be lifted by their presence. It'd be hard to be in the current state. We have to rise together. All right, so we got 2 or 3 more minutes and we start our meditation. So we're stopping right on time today. Maybe help them identify why they feel that way and find ways to connect to them and share with them what makes you feel free from emotion. You cannot change yourself, then you can change nobody. Yeah, I like the yes, be the change. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can do, but usually when we're having a conversation with somebody like that, they may not want that. They may want to indulge in their emotion, right? So there's a lot of, in love, we are very yin, we hold space. There may be a moment where they're like, oh, I'm done with the emotion. How do I get free of it? And then you can be right there ready to facilitate. It's more like we're a facilitator for, of course, having wisdom and understanding of all these things will help us facilitate more effectively, right? But yeah, so yeah, this all that would apply. But it's all depends on them. And some people want to indulge in their emotion, and that's what they need. It's, like a kid, 3-year-olds having a tantrum. They're not like, oh, I want to stop crying. They want to be crying. And then maybe they want to stop at some point. And many adults can be 3-year-olds. We can all be 3-year-olds at some point. Sometimes we need that. Okay, yay. Fun. Are you guys excited? Thanks for joining me on this.
One small comment, maybe, yeah, just like you were saying, let them express the emotion. I think I was trying to say, don't keep it to yourself, like, kind of like listen and let them, like, you know, send outward their emotions and not bottle them up.
Oh, like they're free to be what they are.
Yes,
Nice.
yes.
Beautiful. Yeah, well, and when you're loving somebody, you hold that atmosphere of, okay, I'm here. You can be free to be what you are right now. You're in a safe
Mm,
space. And that really makes a difference for people. Yeah, nice.
yes.
Thanks, Jacob. Nice. All right, shall
I
we?
uh I like Ayush's comment. I strongly advocate for that.
You what?
I strongly advocate for what Ayush said.
Be the change in the world. Yeah, I love that. Um, Essentially, yes, exactly. That's what we got to do. All right, so shall we meditate? Let's do it. Mm. Namaste, everybody. Mm. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, everybody. Nice to see you, Jacob, Ayush. Thank you, guys.